this so that we've got this for YouTube. So thank you very much, Kate, for being here today. Welcome to coming to this session. I know you've done many sessions at the Cancer Support Centre itself, which has been wonderful and incredibly well populated. And you have said that you'll actually, this is the first of a couple of sessions that we'll run over the next couple of months. So once again, thank you very much, and I will pass over to you. Okay.
Yes, so today we're basically going to be talking about how to alkalise your diet. The main reason for that is we're trying to take the strain off our body. So really what I want to do first is just to explain briefly the science behind why we do this. Our blood pH is mildly alkaline. It sits at around a level of 7.365, but don't worry too much about that figure. And different areas of the body have different, what we call pH, acid alkaline requirements. So our blood and our tissues are slightly alkaline. Our saliva tends to be a bit erratic because it's affected by our emotional stress. And our urine is slightly acidic or neutral. And this is why when I have people who want to buy the pH strips to test their acid alkaline balance in a morning, I often say that the best way to do it is with your urine. And that's mainly because the saliva is generally, you know, like I said, a little bit erratic. We're aiming for a neutral, really. So we don't want to be too alkaline because we do need acid. We need it to break down food. But we don't want to be too acidic because that can cause a lot of issues in the body, which I'm going to briefly run through. So firstly, what can happen is if we are too acidic, what happens is, to prevent our blood pH declining, that the body does its own thing to cope. So it starts to pull alkaline minerals out of the tissues. So by alkaline minerals, I mean sodium, magnesium, calcium, and potassium. And when we start to pull that out of the tissues into the blood, we can find that it can lead to a deficiency. So we can use our reserves. So that is something that we really don't want to happen. So our blood pH, you know, that generally, unless you have like some quite rare health issues, our blood pH is generally not altered. It's what happens to these minerals. That's what alters in the body, and that is what can
nutrition talk started.
We have so then what happens is we can have excess acid, and this can be dumped into the tissues for storage, and then it gets dumped back into the blood where it draws out more minerals. So it's like a vicious circle. It's pulled out, it's put in, it's pulled out, it's put in, and eventually it will start to stress our liver and our kidneys. And it can be deposited in various organ systems, or it can also build up in what then becomes an overloaded lymphatic system. And obviously our lymphatic system is there to drain and get rid of things that we don't want in the body. So what we want to do by sort of looking at the amount of acidic and alkaline foods in our diet is we want to stop this happening. You know, we don't want to be deficient in magnesium, we don't want to be deficient in the other minerals, and I'm going to sort of go into that in a little bit more detail. Some of the early signs that things are not quite right, and this can actually be early signs for quite a lot of health issues. So it's always good to be aware of things like if you're getting sort of breakouts on your skin, if you're getting headaches, if allergies are getting worse. So it might be that, you know, your hay fever is, you've started to have hay fever and you never had it before, or it's worse. It might be that things like asthma and eczema are flaring up. These can all be signs that the body is becoming out of balance. We might get more colds and more sore throats. we might have sinus issue. It's not normal. You know, let's say somebody might come to me and they might say they've got a constant nasal drip, but they just live with it. But that's not right. These are early signs that actually we need to say, you know, what's going on? And to me, one of the best ways to start is actually to look at what you're eating and you're drinking, because we are what we eat and what we drink. It's such an important part of our health. And so then these early signs, if we don't recognize them and do something about them, they can then lead to dysfunction of things, of organs. They can lead to dysfunction of the liver, or they might lead to dysfunction of your adrenals. So then your hormones can come out of balance, or your thyroid. So once again, your hormones and your metabolism, you know, it really sort of cascades to the problems that you can then experience. Common problems that we see with acidity, we can see that people carry excess weight. The body will cling on to fat cells to protect itself. So you might actually be dieting, but you might be on a very acidic diet. And, you know, you often hear people, well, I lost weight the first week, but now I can't shift the weight. Well, that could potentially be the reason why. You're having a lot of excess foods and the body is clinging onto that fat. Bone weakness, you know, the calcium is being taken away from the bones. Tooth sensitivity. Once again, you know, we're having a depletion of minerals. Sleep problems, muscular problems. Sleep problems can be due to the lack of magnesium. I think slightly off track, but magnesium can be a very good supplement, the right magnesium before you go to bed, or a really great Epsom salt bath or spray. Other common problems we see is allergies, which I mentioned earlier, but then they can become more severe. Fatigue, so just generally, you know, we're feeling fatigue, our thyroid's not working properly, you know, our adrenals are out of balance, so, you know, our cortisol can deplete us, which is our stress hormone. We might be becoming deficient in certain minerals and vitamins. This can all lead to fatigue. Mood disorders and neurological imbalances. We produce a huge percentage of our happy hormone in our gut, and if our gut's out of balance, which becoming too acidic is likely to lead to, then the structure of our gut wall becomes compromised, and this can lead to lack of lots of different issues, but also lack of serotonin, our happy hormone, and our sugar metabolism can also be affected. So the way we break down sugars in the body, and type 2 diabetes, which is generally the diabetes that is associated with, you know, as we get older, and as we eat diets that are high in refined carbohydrates, biscuits, cakes, white bread, all that type of thing, this can actually then lead to diabetes. And if we're too acidic, this is also going to contribute to the way we break down those sugars. So that's just some of the common problems of being too acidic, or our diet, and the things we drink, because that's also important, than being too acidic. Benefits of a diet high in alkaline foods: it's going to help to improve our immune function, which obviously we all need all the time, but particularly at the moment with the problems around us. Sorry, did someone want to speak?
Okay.
No. So yeah, help improve immune function, benefits of diet high in alkaline foods, and cancer protection. Lowers our risk of chronic pain and inflammation. We're not depleting our magnesium, we're not depleting our calcium, you know, our levels are remaining as we want them. Boosts our vitamin absorption. Our gut is going to be a lot healthier if we're having a well-balanced diet. Helps you maintain a healthy weight. Protects your bone density, I can't say that word, and muscle mass. It can also lower your risk of hypertension and strokes. and lower your risk of type 2 diabetes, which I talked about a minute ago. So lots of reasons to do this. You know, it's really, there's so many benefits from actually trying to follow something like this. I don't know whether, I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute. I don't know whether anybody wants to ask me any questions at this point. No, okay, we'll carry on. Okay, just bring it back. So when I work on a one-to-one basis with people, or when we you know, we talk about how to alkalise, there's a great program we can follow. It's called the Goss Program, and it's basically a program designed to help us to become less acidic and more alkaline. Like I said to you earlier, we're not aiming to be too alkaline. We want to be neutral. We want to be in the middle. So we don't want to be acidic and we don't want to be too alkaline. We want to be neutral. So the Goss program includes 4 aspects. The G is for greens, and you know, the greens, the cruciferous vegetables, for so many health issues, you really cannot get enough. And we're not just talking about the acid alkaline balance, we're talking about reducing inflammation, we're talking about immunity, so many reasons why we want to have the greens in our diet, and we're going to go into that in more detail. The O is for oils, so good quality oils. The S is for salt, so the right amount, not too much, but the right amount of good quality salt. And the H is for water, something that is essential to human life. So when it comes to greens, what we're looking for is the chlorophyll that is found in all green plants. So I'm talking about kale and spinach, parsley, watercress, broccoli. You know, they're all full of chlorophyll. They're all full of something called indole 3-carbinol. And these components are all amazing for our health and amazing for our acid alkaline balance. Raw food, raw greens, is always going to give you the highest content. So you're always going to get more of the nutrition from the greens than if you cook them. But if you do cook, I would suggest you steam for short periods only. So just steam them only for as long as you need, so that they're, you know, that you're going to enjoy eating them. Avoid boiling. It's really going to destroy a lot of the nutrient within that food. I often say to people that a really good thing to do is just to try and have some raw greens on 2 of your meals every day. You know, I quite often have rockets for my breakfast / lunch brunch. And then in the evening, you know, I'm a big salad fan, so I'll often have lots of salad. Or I will make smoothies that might have spinach in them, or kale, which is raw. And the other thing that is really great is juicing, which we will cover in another of these sessions. Juicing is ideal as the vitamins and the minerals and the enzymes quickly enter the bloodstream. To get the enzymes, you need to drink the juice within 5 minutes of making it, but they will enter the bloodstream very quickly, because with juicing, it hasn't got to go via the digestive process. With juicing, I always say we shouldn't really be juicing fruit, because we don't want to raise our blood sugar. So an example of, you know, an easy juice is something like celery, cucumber, lemon, ginger. When you're starting out, you may need to put a little bit in, maybe an apple, half an apple, but do as quickly as you can try and take the fruit out for health reasons. You're having the juice as it's like a powerful supplement. You know, it's a powerful supplement that you're making yourself and you're making fresh. But like I said, we will be covering juicing in a bit more detail. So lots of these green vegetables, whether you're going to smoothie make, whether you're going to have it on the side of your plate, whether you're just going to munch on it, you know, whenever you feel like it. But the other thing you can also do, which is sort of a little cheat's way, but perfectly good way, not a bad cheat, is you can get something called liquid chlorophyll. I generally buy mine off Amazon. I use a brand called World Organic Liquid Chlorophyll. I don't buy the flavoured one, the spearmint, I just get the plain one. And you'd have about 1 to 2 tablespoons a day. You'd have it in water, or you can have it neat. And that is basically a very concentrated shot of your greens, your chlorophyll. You know, you're really topping yourself up for the day by having that. Chlorophyll has also got lots of other health benefits. One of those is that it's very good at mopping up carcinogens that we are exposed to in life. Barbecuing, for instance, exposes us quite often to carcinogens, so it will mop up metals, carcinogens that are floating around the system. So it's a great thing to have a bottle of it in the fridge, and just try and remember to have it daily. But if you don't, it's not the end of the world. Oh yes, and of this slide, as you can see, it just shows you some of the really great benefits of having chlorophyll. And obviously when you're having your green veg, you're getting chlorophyll, but when you're having the liquid chlorophyll, you're going to get a really concentrated amount of it. So those are just some of the benefits for you to see. Then we move on to oils. By oils, we're talking about our omega-3 and hemp seed oil, flaxseed, something called saccharinci that people might not have heard of so much, and it is a little bit more expensive. They are full of our omega-3. There is also a brand called Maripa fish oil, which is free of solvents. I know that Cytoplan fish oil is also free of solvents. It's a good quality fish oil, and it's less expensive than the Maripa. And marine phytoplankton is something that you can obtain, and that's not only full of omega-3, it's also got vitamins and minerals in there, but it's quite a distinctive taste. So it's not everybody's cup of tea. But from the point of view of your hemp seed oil, your flax, your saccharinci, you know, it's a case of just having one of these, or if you want to get all 3 in, and just having them regularly. Don't heat them. Either add them to your smoothie, sprinkle them on your salad, make a dressing, sprinkle them on your veg, but just get lots of these really good quality oils into your system. I think for years we were told that fat was not good for us, fat made you fat, but it's not the case. Good fat is very good for us. It's very good for many reasons. The reason we're talking about today, it's also very good for our brains. So the right fat is good. So getting lots of these fats in your diet is really great. Oh, and sorry, coconut oil, which I generally try and buy a brand that's hexane free, and you can use it as a spread, or I use it as butter, to be honest, because I don't have any cow's milk products. So I use coconut oil as a spread, just a thin spread on a buckwheat cracker, sorry, and you add it to smoothies, and I cook with it. So coconut oil doesn't heat up to such high temperatures as other oils, so it's safer to cook with. But there are other oils. Avocado oil is another oil that is safe to cook with. But you know, generally a lot of the good quality oils, the best way to use them is actually to use them cold, and then you get the full benefits of them. Just some reasons to have coconut oil. Increases fat loss, which you'd be surprised. It is a medium chain fatty acid, but the body doesn't store it as fat. It boosts your brain health, helps wounds heal faster. So you actually apply it topically, and I have done this for my daughter, and it has healed a fungal looking toenail, helps to balance your hormones, helps in heart disease. It's not a bad fat from the point of view of heart disease. There was an article in the British Medical Journal that supported the fact that it's good for the good cholesterol it's not a problem from the bad cholesterol, because there has been some bad press about it. But yeah, this article has only been in the last couple of years. It increases nutrient absorption, which is obviously what we want. If we're going to have all this lovely healthy food, then we want to really get the most out of having it. And it is also good for your bone health. So lots of reasons to have a little bit of coconut oil in your diet. As with anything, you know, don't go mad. 1 to 2 tablespoons a day, I would suggest. Then we move on to salt. Now, when I learned all about this, I was very relieved to hear that salt is actually okay for us, good for us, providing we don't have too much of it, because it's something I love. Something I particularly like is Himalayan salt sprinkled on an avocado with a little bit of chili flakes. I love that. So my personal preference is Himalayan. It's an unpolluted form of salt. Table salt is the thing that you need to chuck out. It's sodium chloride. It's very toxic to the body. The body has to work very hard to detoxify it for us. So yeah, if you've got any table salt, even for cooking, I certainly would just, personally, I'd pop it in the bin. An average person needs approximately a teaspoon of salt a day. Obviously, I don't know who's average and who's not, but I know I am, because I had a DNA food test a few years back, and it told me I needed 5 grams of salt a day, so I was very happy about that. There is a solution that we can use, and we will cover that in another session, and that's called Soleil. So that's your salt. And then I'm just wondering where the water's gone. But basically, with water, we are going to cover water more fully. It's so important that everybody, you know, drinks enough water. Filtered is the way to have it. So at the least a Brita filter, but obviously there are a lot of really good systems that you can have fitted at home, or you can get a tabletop distiller. Mine is by a company called Mega Home, where you can distill 4 litres of water at a time. But yes, we need to be filtering our water to some degree because of the pollutants and the contaminants that are in water. But you know, most of us, we need a good 2+ litres a day, and we will cover water in more depth. So just having a look how long I've been talking for today. So what I'm going to just run through now is just a list of some highly alkaline foods that we want to try and have lots of. Some quite alkaline foods that we want to have still lots of, sorry. So we're talking about, you can see on the highly alkaline list, well, really everything I've just been talking about. You can see the broccoli and the Brussels sprouts and the green beans, green peppers. We want to have lots of those green cruciferous vegetables. Also on that list is beetroot, tomato and avocado. Some of these things we think, gosh, I'm surprised that's so alkaline, but sometimes things that are a little bit acidic in the mouth can actually leave an alkaline ash as it passes through. Sprouted seeds, you can see that up there on the list. Now that's something that we'll cover in a bit more detail. You can easily sprout your own seeds. It's the easiest thing to do. And you can buy special equipment, or you can just find a jam jar, but we will talk about that. But you can also, I'm not sure if they're available at the moment, but hopefully that a lot of things are back in the supermarket other than flour. But yeah, you can often buy sprouted seeds in the salad section of your supermarket. So have a look when you're next in there, whether you can find any. And then the quite alkaline, we've got things like, obviously, cabbage is on there, lettuce, cauliflower, so loads more of our vegetables once again. So lots of these. Lime, which really, you know, ties in with what I was saying. You might be a bit surprised about lime, because you might think, well, that's quite tart when it goes in the mouth. But yeah, that is great from acidity point of view. Lemon, I always start the day with half a lemon squeezed into some luke boiled water, That's my morning drink. So all those things, tofu, which is something I have once or twice a week, organic tofu, because I eat a mainly plant-based diet, which is something that I always try to encourage people to have at least one vegan meal a week or one vegan day, and then maybe just build it up. And then lots of the nuts and seeds, as you can see from the list, are in the quite alkaline. Almonds are the only nut that sit into that category, and then some of the fats. And then fruit, you'll see that there's unripe bananas on there, coconut, fresh coconut, and then some of the herbal teas. So that's sort of, obviously, it's not an exhaustive list, but I think it probably gives you an idea of, you know, the types of foods that are more alkaline. And then we'll move on to the acidic list. So you can see low acidity here. You can see a lot of the fruit falls in there. So, you know, it's low acidity. So I'm not saying don't have any of it, just saying have it in moderation. Obviously, there are times in our life where it's better not to have things that are too much sugar, particularly if we are suffering from cancer. We don't really want to be having sugar in our diet. So that might then be a reason to actually think, I'm not going to go for that mango, you know, I'm going to go for the blueberries or so forth. But you can see from there, low acidity, a lot of the fruit. So I would say to you that, you know, have a little bit of that. Have a lot of the slide before, and have a little bit of what's on the low acidity. You can see quite a lot of the nuts are on here. One of my favourite nuts is on there, walnuts, buckwheat groats are on there, hazelnuts, Brazil nuts. So yeah, they have got health benefits. So you certainly want to have some of those in your diet. 2 to 3 Brazil nuts a day gives you your daily requirements of selenium, so they are a great nut to have. I always think walnuts, well, they look like a brain, so they are good for our brains. And coconut milk is on that list. And then you'll see from the meat, poultry, fish and dairy, there's just a very small amount that are on the low acidity. Organ meats, don't know who likes organ meats. I know there are people out there who like them. Never been something that has floated my boat. And then breads, you've got some of the wholemeal varieties of breads and rye breads are on the list. So you can obviously take a little bit longer to look at that list. If you look online, you know, you will find differing opinions. But this is, like I said, it's just a really good place to start. It gives you an idea of, actually, we know on the highly acidic list, artificial sweeteners, you know, refined sugars, white bread, peanuts, pistachios, most of the meats, they're all highly acidic. So if you're going to have them with a load of more alkaline foods, balance it out. Have them with a tablespoon of chlorophyll, you know, just balance it out. I have this little trick that if I ever have a takeout curry, I always have vegetable curry because I don't eat meat, but then I'll have a tablespoon of chlorophyll or apple cider vinegar, which we will talk about, but not today. Oh, and here's my water slide. I knew it was here. So yeah, I've talked about water, and it's a minimum of 1 litre per 50 pounds of body weight. That's just a loose guide, but it's a good guide. And then, like we said, you know, having lots of teas. It might be that you could listen to this talk today and you could think, what's the one thing that I can change to become, you know, less acidic? And it might be, right, I'm going to start to have plant milk instead of cow's milk. So just think where to start. You might think, right, well, I'm not drinking anywhere near enough, so I'm going to start to have more water. So one thing at a time. You don't need to do it all overnight. You know, any change is going to be good for our bodies. So yeah, so I'm just going to basically see whether anybody wanted to ask any questions.
I'll start on this one. So I absolutely, I do love raw greens, so yay. but I don't tend to buy organic. How is there a way, if I haven't bought organic, is there a way to wash vegetables in the right way so that anything that might be on them isn't on them anymore? Does that make sense?
That's a good question. First of all, I would say have a look at this website, www.ewg.org, Dirty Dozen, and that lists the worst veg and fruit for spraying. So the most contaminated by pesticides, herbicides. And then where you can, either don't have those or buy them organic. So bell peppers are on there, tomatoes are on there, strawberries, spinach. So that's a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
From the point of view of washing, there are some schools of thought that say you could do a soda bicarb mix, an apple cider vinegar mix. I just think that not a lot of people get round to that. So I would say soak them for longer. If they've got a skin on them and you can peel it, at least you're going to take the outer layer off. But the problem with pesticides is they get in at a cellular level. So you're never really going to be completely able to free it from contamination. So yes, soak it for a bit longer. You could try one of those solutions, mixing some apple cider vinegar and water and then putting your fruit or your veg in there for a while. You could try peeling. But then let's say we peel our non-organic sweet potato, we're taking the fibre away. Yeah. So you do need to be a bit careful. Sweet potato, have it when you go to the supermarket, have a look. Some stuff that's organic is actually not that more expensive than the non-organic stuff. Where you can, buy as much organic and just avoid that dirty dozen unless it's organic.
I will have a look, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi Kate, we have not a lot of rice, but we do eat a lot of rice rather than potatoes. I didn't see, unless I missed it completely, white rice on there. We do have brown rice, but that's massively acidic, which I'm quite surprised at.
Yes. Yeah.
Any suggestions?
Quinoa?
Quinoa. Yeah, I like it. My husband doesn't.
I think it's a bit like I said, Jackie. It's like everything in moderation. Balance it out. So if you are having a white basmati or a brown basmati, then firstly soak them before you cook with them. Even if it's just for 20 minutes, but you will find then it'll cook for a lot shorter period of time. Don't put it on for 10 minutes. It'll be like mush. And just balance it out with, the greens on your plate. That's the way I would go. But that list is not exhaustive at all. Obviously, you'd be there forever, wouldn't you, if you drew up every food source. But yeah, I mean, the different schools of thought would say that white basmati is actually superior to brown basmati. I personally, I don't eat much rice, but if I do, I would generally have brown basmati rice, and I'll just soak it and cook it in a lot of water, so it soaks up as much as it needs.
Okay, thank you.
Try quinoa though.
I like it.